Okay. All right. Let's not beat around the bush here. It's clear to me why I'm here on a Saturday night. I have a mission from God. And that is to have retroactively spent the last 4 days poring over the 72-page report talking about the reprehensible behavior of one Hans Moke Niemann. Chess god or cheating little prick? Spoiler, cheating little prick. And not mutually exclusive. Also, probably a chess god. But not Magnus Carlsen, little chess god, and certainly not. Has not earned the score, the elo that he has currently. He's probably like a 2400. Hey, PG and Charlie and Mirth and yeah, because I've been going over this. Like, I've been trying to kind of make as much sense of it as I can. Like, there are a bunch of GMs who are streaming about this. And they, if you know a lot about chess, I guess, but it's actually kind of interesting to listen to some of these GMs talk. It is pretty clear that, being really good at chess doesn't really, in fact, it's probably, there are probably some clashes between being good at chess and being good at, say, explaining things in English to people who aren't as into what you're doing as you are. Excuse me, my hands are quite dry. So, and maybe, that's maybe not all I wanted to do tonight, but I didn't want to upset anyone by calling this like ASMR ramble or whatever the hell. And then they get here and then they're like, oh man, he's talking about chess again. So I figured I would call it Hans Niemann, cheating prick. Make it really clear. I don't know if I've made that clear. Hans Niemann is a cheating prick. Make it clear to this camera. Hans Niemann, cheating prick. This, I have to say, fantastic. This is my favorite hand moisturizer. I mean, it's for eczema, but really that just means like it has like some oatmeal in it already. And it's just really, really kind of thick. Almost like putting spackle on. It's lovely. If anyone has questions or wants to talk about anything, I'd be more than happy to do that as well. But the natural course of events here is I'm going to be going over what to me are like really clearly the points that make it clear to the layman, the layperson, that Hans Niemann cheated. Let me be clear. Has cheated many, many times, dozens and dozens of times. Has cheated in events where he was playing for money. Has cheated in events where he was streaming. Has cheated in events that he has, even after admitting to cheating, said that he did not cheat in. So, like, he was like, well, I didn't cheat here, but he did. So it's, oh, PG, you're hitting the drift so hard right now. This is slang I'm not quite familiar with. Is this like, I mean, I can guess I can guess it. But I'm actually not familiar with hitting the drift. Evie, you're interested to hear more. Well, you've come to the right place. And we're starting with, really, like the basis of this is the chess.com report and their cheat detection algorithms, which Hans Niemann is on record as saying chess.com has the best cheat detection algorithms in the world. And why do they have such? That's exactly what I think it is, PG. I have heard people use the word like spendthrift, and then spendthrift instead of spindrift. That's one of those malapropisms I hear quite a bit. So when I heard you say hitting the drift, it made me think of spindrift, and then people who say spendthrift or spindrift when they mean spendthrift. Not sure how that's relevant. My lights have not arrived. They are late. They are somewhere between California and here. I have no information on when they're going to arrive, but they gotta get here soon because I'm, what do you want? Like, Halloween is coming, right? Halloween is coming. I gotta get a video up with this dude. Gotta get a video up with him. It's been so long. It's been so long since I've had this silicone on my face and experienced the vague sense of choking that this kind of heavy silicone does, where it sort of constricts the neck. So I gotta get the lights in order to be able to do this video. I could probably do the video without the lights, but that ain't me. Let's see this guy probably better here on this camera. There he is. I did a couple of videos with this guy. I called him, what did I call him? I called him Claude, with the joke being his maker called him that because he was not very dexterous. He bumped into many things. Hey, Nasha. Well, Ned is a cheating prick as well, but I don't think Ned's cheating is anywhere near as egregious as Hans Niemann's cheating. Like, Ned's cheating very severely affected, was more of, no, I don't know. I don't think it was a more morally egregious than what Hans did. Hans is destroying the integrity of chess, right? Ned destroyed the integrity of the Try Guys. Gives a fuck? I don't give a fuck. I'm reading up on my short stories, trying to get. This is a particularly interesting one. Gateways of Abomination to Abomination. I met Bartlett. It's a little bit Welcome to Night Vale, but a little bit further out there. Now that we're Butterfly Composer. By the way, Butterfly Composer. On Wednesday, I briefly pinged you and was curious about how you're doing. And I don't think I saw your response. You may have responded and I didn't see it. And I've been wondering since then how you're doing. So, so my idea with Claude is, he's a really good-natured dude. He's a good-natured dude. He was supposed to have, he's like the inverse of young Frankenstein. He was supposed to have an abnormal brain. And instead he got a good brain. And he's coming to grips with what, like, being a creature who is self-aware, sort of the parallels with AI there. trying to figure that out. I'm also trying to finish the story. Some of you may remember. I don't know. It's been a while. I kind of dropped the ball on this, but I need to check the Discord. You need to check the Discord. We need to check the Discord. Everybody needs to check the Discord. Dropped the ball on this. I was writing a story about kind of an invasion of the body snatchers, kind of inspired. Look at that, even when you stretch it. Man, look at that. I just got to spray it with like a little bit of water. Let's see if we do this. Look at that. Looks super, super disgusting. Put some stage blood in there. Can really get in there. And I also have this puppy hooked up this evening. This was one of my favorite microphones for a while. This is a Rode Video Mic X, and I got water all over this keyboard when I did that. And this is the keyboard I like. So if I just fucked up this keyboard, then Hans is public enemy number 2, and I deem myself public enemy number 1. Sorry, so I'm a fan of this microphone, which you can't hear because I have it turned down. I'll turn it up here in a second. Yeah, so I'm a fan of this microphone because it is stereo. It's small diaphragm instead of large diaphragm. You kind of got to be up on it, but if you have it just kind of out here, it's good for ambiance. And I love the windscreen and the noises that it makes on my beard. And it's a very, it's weatherproof. It's all metal, excellent construction. Pop this on top of a camera and you're good to go. But I mean, I think it's good enough to use in a studio, which is why I'm doing. But hey, really, you want to hear the difference between large diaphragm condensers and small diaphragm condensers? Large diaphragm condenser, small diaphragm condenser. For different things, this could be better, but I think for just kind of speaking, it's pretty clear that one of these is much more suitable than the other. But everything has a use. It's all about how you use it. How you use it. Put you on the floor there. This, Evie, this is an excellent question. Why is he allowed to play in the first place? I mean, in the title, I think I wrote in the description there that I think he should be barred from the FIDE. I'm not sure why they're being so... Well, I do know why. Or, whatever. Let me preface everything I say here with I'm just guessing about everything. But, he's got charisma. He's a 19-year-old. He's admitted to some of the cheating that he's done. Basically, it's just they don't quite have what they need, I think, to just kind of straight out bar him. They could, to be on the safe side, but then they would lose. They'd lose. This controversy has drawn a lot of attention to chess. And I mean, he's a character, kind of like Magnus is, right? He's a character, and he's going to be good for chess, or he would be good for chess if he were not a villain, but instead he's more going to be more of a villain. P.S. Public Enemy number 1. I tangented there for a moment and forgot to bring it back around to. I had been writing a short story about sort of a Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of thing, about a child who listens to his parents' dinner parties and overhears something that he shouldn't, and I left it for a while, which I think was probably good because I went back and I read it today, and when I read it today, I was like, oh yeah, maybe this could be good, right? So I think the way that it's going to go is essentially the story will be that kid told from the point of view of the kid reflecting. Now he is older, on when he was, how he used to feel comforted by his parents having parties, dinner parties. It made it very easy for him to fall asleep, using the sort of ambient, distant noise there to kind of ASMR-size the story. And the idea is one day he decides to he discovers that through the vent in his closet, he can hear into a certain room downstairs very well. And he hears something disturbing that sounds a lot like his mother is going to be replaced. And then he notices some things about his mother afterwards. And, it goes on a couple more times. And then on another party, it turns out that then he hears that he is going to be replaced. Him, the boy, is going to be replaced. And there's a sort of A and B line here going. There's this story going on, and there's another part of this person who's interjecting, and you don't know who this person who's interjecting is or what their motivation is or what have you. But, it starts out with just a line here, a line there. It starts to then become more and more even. You're hearing almost as much from the interjector as you were hearing from the kid. And the interjector eventually points out, like, well, isn't it odd? Like, your parents have been having parties for years, and you happen to discover this vent, and you overhear that your mother is going to be replaced, and that you are going to be replaced. What are the odds of that happening? Like, party, like right then, right at that party. And the sort of twist on the twist is going to be that, it's established that, like, people are taken and then replaced. And what's actually happening is he's going to be replaced. So he was already taken, and he didn't even know it. And the person who's been telling the story is the replacement, who is not aware that he is a replacement. So I want to try and make that a little more dramatic. Am I going to be able to do it by Halloween? No. Maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah, I agree with this. So, Andrew, you are team, he should get another chance. He was given another chance. This is something that, like, a lot of people don't know, is that he was banned for cheating from chess.com for a year and came back and cheated. So let's jump into this. It's going to be so much fun. I have little charts and stuff. It's great. Where's my launch window? Oh. Again, don't like Macs. All right. So chess.com released a 72-page report on this. Charlie. I mean, going into acting, no. I mean, I like doing what I do in the videos. Like, that's a kind of acting, I suppose. But no, I have no delusions about actually going into acting. Yeah, I am 50 years old. Not gonna get into acting now. All right, so let's jump into this. So chess.com published a report. The Wall Street Journal then published an article based on the report. But pretty much all of the evidence that we have is coming either from the chess.com report, other grandmasters, including but not limited to Magnus Carlsen, Hans Niemann's own words being used against him and showing that not only is he lying or cheating, but he's also lying about his cheating. So let's get into this. All right. There's a couple things. I'm not going to. This is 72 pages. A lot of it is just graphs, right? So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I want to at least do the synopsis paragraph at the beginning. So Hans Niemann report, October 2022. Over the last few weeks, the world has been following the major story regarding Hans Niemann, Magnus Carlsen, and cheating in chess. This has become a matter of significant public interest, both inside and outside the chess world, and we present in this report our exploration of the events, circumstances, and data that have informed chess.com's decisions concerning the current controversy, as well as the issue of cheating in chess more generally. At the outset, we want to make clear that while these events highlight a critical topic in chess, cheating, the vast majority of chess games do not involve any cheating. We estimate that fewer than 0.14% of players on chess.com ever cheat, and that our events are by and large free from cheating. I think that's probably a low ball. Like, I mean, if you're talking about once you get to like a level where it matters, if you're a 1400 cheating, it doesn't matter. Right. But anyway, I feel like that's a low ball. We firmly believe cheating in chess is rare, preventable, and much less pervasive than is currently being portrayed in the media. Again, like it is to chess.com's best interests, for their moneyed events, for their face saving, whatever it is. It's good for them for chess to be legitimate. And of course, cheating decreases the legitimacy of an enterprise, and therefore chess does not want you to think that chess.com does not want you to think that there's much cheating. I think once you get to those higher levels, once you get to international master, grandmaster levels, that's probably right. But again, who cares if your aunt Martha, who has played chess twice a year since she was 14 and would probably be rated like an 1150 or something. Who cares if she cheats? Right? That doesn't matter. What matters is professionals cheating, really. Okay. With that background, the following is a brief summary of our findings and takeaways. We present evidence in this report that Hans likely cheated online much more than his public statements suggest. However, while Hans has had a record-setting and remarkable rise in rating and strength, in our view, there is a lack of concrete statistical evidence that he cheated in his game with Magnus or in any other over-the-board, that is, in-person game. So if you hear me say OTB, it's over the board. That's not online. We are presenting our findings here and will cooperate with the FIDE on any further investigation. Two, and I think they have to say this because like there is some question about Magnus Carlsen's impartiality in these affairs, given that he has business ventures tied up with chess.com. So I think they feel like they probably have to say this part. We were never pressured by Magnus or his team whatsoever to remove Hans from chess.com or revoke his invitation to the chess.com global championship, nor did we communicate with Magnus regarding our decisions on these issues before we made them. Good. It's not really his business, right? I mean, whatever. Like the world's greatest chess player doesn't mean that like he should have a say in how these things are being run or decided. I mean, he has an opinion, and it's his opinion insofar as he is an expert at analyzing play is very valid, right? And that should not be taken lightly, especially because, I mean, it's also his reputation, right? We uninvited Hans from our Wait, did I skip something? Right, okay. We uninvited Hans from our upcoming major online event and revoked his access to our site. Based on our experience with him in the past, growing suspicions among top players, and our team about his rapid rise of play, the strange circumstances and explanations of his win over Magnus, that's an important point, because as I said, and this is true, they don't have concrete statistical evidence that he cheated in the OTB game against Magnus, where he beat Magnus. But he definitely cheated. And our own internal concerns, we uninvited Hans from the event and prevented his access to chess.com. We are open to continuing a dialogue with Hans to discuss his status at chess.com. Not the first time that that's happened. He was banned from chess.com before for cheating, which he admitted to. They have the DMs, they have the paper trail of him admitting to this stuff to the people at chess.com in charge. And then they also have the admissions that he's made publicly, which are far less, they make him look much better when he talks about this publicly, how often he cheated, when he cheated, what his thoughts are on cheating. In fact, why don't we pop this up right here at this point. Here's Hans Niemann himself saying, other than when I was 12 years old, I've never, ever, ever, and I would never do that. That is the worst thing that I could ever do, cheat in a tournament with prize money. He's done both. Never when I was streaming did I cheat. He has been proven and admitted to cheating while streaming. Keep in mind that I was 16 years old. I never wanted to hurt anyone. These were random games. I would never could even fathom doing it in a real game. All right, what's a real game? He did it. He wasn't 16 years old. He's done it when he was 17. It's been proven that it was done 2 years ago. And he admitted to it. So he wasn't 16. And this is what we know from his own admission. He was not 16. He was 17. And he was doing it in real games. That is, games played for money. So everything that he said here, which is what he said to people outside of chess.com, contradicts the admissions that he gave directly to chess.com. So he's a liar. Okay. And then chess.com is being super, super like cordial and like you said, Evie, right? Like, why isn't he just like outright completely banned, you know? And I think a lot of it has to do with what they think someone like Hans could do for chess and ultimately for chess.com's bottom line. And then the last point is we believe that chess organizers, federations, companies, and players can all work together more effectively to create great and assuredly fair chess events. Right? Yeah. I mean, once this idea that it would be very easy for anyone to cheat in an over-the-board game of chess gets out there, I mean, who's gonna want to compete? Like, if you're going into an event where like you think that everybody else is cheating, it's more likely, like, cheating breeds more cheating. It's just gonna delegitimize the entire endeavor. So I do think it's important. I think it's important to the extent that playing a game is important. Like, I find professional competitive chess, if we're talking about esports or e-gaming, right? To me, I mean, just based on the history of the game itself, the type of critical thinking that chess involves, especially at the level where you're trying to predict strategy with millions of variations, 20 moves in advance, that kind of thing should be fostered. Like that's the kind of thing, like if people became obsessed with chess and becoming good at chess in the same way that people are obsessed with poker or slots. Maybe slots is better. Like poker, there's still some, obviously there's strategy to poker, and it's not luck. At least it's not all luck. But chess, it is completely strategy. Everybody starts even, right? The playing board is even. There is no random cards. There is no, oh my God, I just got dealt a straight flush. And it is all skill. So I guess I just feel like if there is a game, and it's a skill that is applicable in lots of other areas. If you're now, right, admittedly, like grandmasters, especially people who are really, really into chess become grandmasters. Most people who become grandmasters in their early teens, or they never become a grandmaster. That's an interesting, that says something interesting about brain development, that statistically, if you're not a grandmaster by the time you're 15 years old, you're probably never going to become a grandmaster. Now, I don't know what the correlation versus causation there is. It you have the time to play chess all day, you have the sort of focus and dedication and energy to do that all day, or is it that like your neuroplasticity at that age is such that if this is what you're dedicating your brain power to, then your brain becomes very good at doing these kinds of far future seeing POV of the board as the battlefield, kind of like in Queen's Gambit when they would show like her brain going into this sort of crazy hyper, I see all the pieces and all the possibilities and the beautiful mind equations coming by, etc. That stuff, I mean, yes, a lot of grandmasters, to become a grandmaster, have to give up a lot of other things, and they have to sort of concentrate on chess. But were chess to crumble tomorrow, those people, those skills that they have would be applicable in other areas, right? It's a useful, I feel like it creates gray matter, or it creates the ability to think strategically, laterally. It promotes thinking about like the same kinds of things that poker does as well. Like I think like the skills you need for poker are kind of a subset of the skills you need for chess, because a lot of it still is about, like in chess, a lot of it might be about the gambits, right? A gambit is essentially a bluff, like in a way, right? Like if you're kind of making an analogy between chess and poker. Gambit, bluff. Excuse me. These things itch my ears. I also have headphones that were supposed to be here, and I don't want to complain because, this is first world problems, but I should have had lights and I should have had headphones. They didn't come. Oh, hey, Anna is here. Hi, Anna. Well, no, this is still the report from last week, but I, went over it. I don't know exactly where this is coming from, Amy, and I don't want to get too distracted, but I'm a huge fan of the epistolary form. I love all the sort of, it's like it leaves all these blanks for your mind to fill in such a sort of a way that really kind of, for me, and I'm sure for most people, like spurs their imagination. And allows you like insight into people without needing to be so expository about stuff. And it also makes exposition feel less forced because, it's got to be there. Right? Anyway, okay. So the mission of chess.com, okay, we don't need to know about the mission of chess.com. But what we do need to know, and one of the things that is really important when we're thinking about like cheating in chess, there's a few things that are really important. One is how cheating is detected, And I think two is really like how much cheating is needed to tip the scales. Because I hear people talking about like this whole anal bead thing with Hans Niemann, right? And he's got these anal beads and they vibrate for every move well, this is not true, Phil. Like he admitted it. Like I don't know what you're saying, innuendo and slander, but sure, whatever. Think what you want. So yeah, that's true. Yeah. Speaking of which, I went and saw the movie Smile with Anna on Friday. And it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be really bad. I thought it was going to be awful. And I don't want to spoil it, but I really thought it was going to be like the movie that came out a few years ago where everybody did that strange Photoshop liquefy smile like right before they what is the euphemism for S-wording yourself before they unalive themselves. So I really thought like the movie Smile was, especially, the trailer did not help this, but I thought the movie Smile was going to be all about like, oh great, there's somebody and they're smiling, and I'm not sure if that smile is the malignant smile, which means that person is about to try and kill me or themselves or whatever it is, or is it a genuine smile? And it really wasn't about that. The smile was really kind of like ancillary. Like it was less. The movie's called Smile, and the smile's not really that important to the movie. Yeah, I thought I mean, well, I told you I thought it was going to be pretty horrible, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. I'm gonna do this exactly how I want and take as long as I want, Phil. So, take a seat, relax, or take a hike. Don't give a fuck. Anyway, so two of the things that are important to understand. The second one is how often it is like, because when people were talking about like, okay, he's got like these anal beads that vibrate and, or whatever it is, something that vibrates, right? And communicates positions to him. And that's what he needs in order to win games. That's not what he needs. That's not what anyone needs to win a game, right? All they need is maybe if they could get a little bit of information, like let's say 4 bits of information a game, that would be enough, especially when you're already playing at Hans Niemann's level. So like the thing to also understand is like these players, like it's not going to work for some schmo off the street who learned how to play chess a month ago, to come in and start playing at the 2,800 level, 2,700 level. And then, that's not going to fly. You have to be a grandmaster, right? And I think nobody's saying that Hans Niemann is not a grandmaster or near grandmaster or grandmaster level chess player, or a brilliant chess player. But there are a lot of grandmasters, right? But once you're at that level of being able to play like that, all you need is a little nudge. All you need is like the ability to know that if what looks like a good move at a particular juncture in this game, remember, like when you're playing at this level, a lot of these games get down to the end game. They get down to like a pawn king end game. Usually these games get down to like a pawn king end game. That's why blitz chess became like so popular. Or one of the reasons, right? It was more exciting. And then the other thing to take into account is, right, like the amount of time that you have to play a game means you're obviously, the more time you have with diminishing returns, the better you're going to play, because the more you're going to be able to kind of spec out what the possibilities are, what the effects are of sacrificing a piece or what have you. Okay, so what are the methods of cheat detection that chess.com uses? This is a brief list. It's pretty brief. So, I mean, without even looking at this, like, one of the things that chess.com can do to kind of detect cheating, like right off the bat, that is incredible, is access its huge data set of all of the games ever played on chess.com. Most of them can be correlated with players, and then can show trends and things. Oh, is the font really small here? Sorry. Here, I'll make it bigger and bring it down here. And put my head over. But I'm sure it goes over that here. Let's see. All right, so comparing the moves made to engine recommended moves. Removing some moves, opening endgame, focusing on key and critical moves, discussing with a panel of trained analysts, strong players, comparing a player's past performance and known strength profile, comparing a player's performance to the performance of comparable peers, looking at the statistical significance of the results, for example, 1 in a million chance of happening naturally, looking at if there are behavioral factors at play. This is the browser tabbing behavior that correlated with, like in Hans Niemann's case, when he was playing online games, he played significantly stronger, statistically significantly stronger, when he would tab away from the game and then tab back, which is something that chess.com can track. So, he would play at X level when he didn't do that, and he would play at X plus a statistically significant percentage when he did tab away to other browser windows. For instance, a browser window with Stockfish running. Reviewing time usage when compared to difficulty of the moves on the board. Okay, don't need proof. He admitted it. All right? So I don't know what you're talking about, Phil. But honestly, shut the fuck up. All right, let's keep going through the timeline here. Okay, so September 4th, 2022, Magnus Carlsen, white, played Hans Niemann, black. And Hans won, gave a post-game interview. Magnus, the next day, withdrew from the event. He linked to the video clip where he said, he was, I guess, a football coach who said, "I can't speak. If I speak, I'm in big trouble." At that point, Chess emailed Hans to tell him that his account had been closed and that his invitation had been to the chess event, to the chess.com event, had been withdrawn. So we can see that email right here. Right here. Well, I mean, there's not much there. There was not a response from Hans. It basically just says, "We've decided to remove your access from chess.com. We're sending the invitation to join the CGC. Chess.com has its own, essentially, TOS, and it can remove any account at any time without explanation. We'll be providing you with your compensation for $5,000 in the qualified spot in the CGC. You can claim your prize here." It gives them where they can claim the prize. Okay. On top of that, he sent, or chess.com sent, well, let's get back to the timeline first before jumping ahead. Okay. Then, on September 6th, Hans publicly addressed this ban, stating that although he cheated a few years ago when he was 12 and 16, He has never cheated in a tournament with prize money when he was streaming or in a real game. That was the statement that I showed here. So that's when he made these 3 statements. That he only cheated when he was 12 in a tournament with prize money, that he did not stream when he was not cheating when he was streaming, and that he also only cheated when he was 16. He would never fathom doing that in a quote-unquote real game, right? So that's when he said that stuff. 2 days later, Chess.com sent Hans a letter laying out the reasons for the decisions to revoke his status and revoke his invitation. That's here. And it's, I mean, this is not crucial, right? But just so we can kind of get an idea here of what the actual accusations were. This is going to be a problem reading-wise. That's all right. I know what I'll do. I'm going to kind of scroll through it. All right. Dear Hans, I'm sending this letter. Now, this letter, I think, is from Danny, the chief chess officer of chess.com. Excuse me. Oh, God. Do I still have a little space here? All right. Dear Hans, I'm sending this letter with 3 important goals to clarify factual inaccuracies in the statements you've made regarding your fair play violations on chess.com. So basically, right, the things that Hans said in the interview about how and when he cheated were lies. To justify my reasons for withdrawing our invitation to the chess.com prize events, including the upcoming chess.com Global Championship, and to talk about a path back to chess.com events. So first, regarding the comments you made concerning when and why you cheated on chess.com, in this interview, the one he made the 2 days before this letter was sent, he mentioned that he cheated when he was 12 and later when he was 16 in an unrated game. Now, this directly contradicts our statistical evidence, and I'll show that, as well as the conversation. I mean, they've got the fucking DMs you and I had in a private call where you confessed to cheating. Well, so, yeah, okay, so there was a call, and you can see the DMs, and then you can see the Zoom invite, and then you can see the discussion after the Zoom call. Obviously, we don't have the actual call itself. Conversation you and I had on our private call when you confessed to cheating, there's written evidence from you that substantially corroborates this. You contradicted your own statement that you'd only cheated in unrated games in the interview by later stating that you did it to gain rating points. So, if you cheat in unrated games, you don't gain rating points. So you're either cheating in rated games, or you're cheating in unrated games, but not to gain rating points. So that's contradicting exactly, what he said. As indicated in your interview, chess.com has the best fair play detection in the world. So that's something that Hans said was chess.com has the best fair play detection in the world. One of the reasons he probably said this is because he was banned prior for his cheating, and they were really, really using kid gloves with him. Gave him a lot of chances, and were like trying to get him to come back because, again, like I feel like it's in chess.com's best interest for an interesting person, an interesting character like Hans Niemann, who is an incredibly talented chess player, to be playing chess. It raises the profile of chess. It raises the interest in chess, just sort of in general. Using that system, we've identified many clear instances of cheating. While there are other potential events, games and evidence that reinforce the untruth of your public claims, specifically for the purposes of this letter, we are informing you that some of our strongest data suggests you violated fair play on the following dates. And then it lists a series of games. So for this titled Tuesday qualifier, it's pretty interesting because the note here for this event is you played against and lost to someone we eventually closed for cheating in that same event, and your game reflected clear engine versus engine play, which it should be pretty clear what engine versus engine play is. But just in case it's not, like, there's tons of data, and there's tons of data in this letter that can pretty closely correlate your ELO rating with a percentage of how often you make what is considered the best move by a chess engine. To the point where they can actually predict your ELO rating by your percentage rating and vice versa, right? In addition to the metric monetary benefit, okay, so yeah, the rating points were beneficial to you. He said having a higher rating would mean more people tune into your streams when you're battling Hikaru, Danya, or Eric. I need people to believe I'm a worthy rival to follow and subscribe. Oh, this is interesting too. So they're also accusing him of farming, like farming other chess players, right? And this probably happens back and forth. Like, it's probably not just like a one-way kind of thing. There were several matches during the year in 2020 where you farmed your fellow chess peers for higher rating. The following matches feature blatant cheating throughout, and a list of several. And these would have happened not when he was 16, not when he was 12, and they were rated games. So he did them to increase his rating. So, yeah, all right. So, fine. Do they have a video of Hans Niemann playing a rated chess game, going to a Stockfish engine in another tab, putting in his move, and then taking that move and then putting it in to the game? No, they don't have that. What they have is statistical evidence. So, like, if you want to say, like, well, that's statistical evidence doesn't mean anything. Okay, so fingerprints aren't important because that's just statistics, right? Fingerprints are only statistical evidence because, in theory, someone could have the same fingerprints as you do. There's a point at which, and that threshold of where it's like, here is how statistically unlikely something has to be to happen before we say, well, we believe this over your word. Especially like chess.com has given him so much of the benefit of the doubt in spite of the fact that he is admitted to cheating many times and been banned for cheating. And yet they're still just like, well, we don't want to say, we don't have concrete evidence. We have evidence that strongly statistically suggests, and they're just being, I think, way too, they're being way too nice to the guy. Like, I don't get it. So what we were talking about before, this is interesting. This is a list of grandmasters who have admitted to cheating that were caught by chess.com's fair play department, who they try to they can figure out who is cheating and who is not cheating by the data they have on that person, by their ELO, and then by their strength score. And then, again, this is the strength score is determined by measuring the best possible move versus the moves played. And you can see here that, generally, it's very strange to see like a 2400 rated player with a strength score of 93.14. Oh, that's weird. So Hans Niemann rated at 2465. By the way, Hans Niemann played a game day before yesterday that he won, that he touted as evidence that he wasn't cheating because it was such a beautiful game. The guy he played was 200 or 150 points lower than him. Was it a beautiful game? I mean, yeah, Hans Niemann's a great chess player. It was It's a great game. So what? Okay. Chess.com also possesses strong statistical evidence. So this is still the letter to Hans from chess.com. To confirm each of these cases, as well as clear toggling versus non-toggling evidence, where you perform much better while toggling to a different screen during your moves. I don't know why that's allowed at all. Like, I feel like if you're playing a rated game or a tournament game online, like you should not. It should just like say like, look, if you toggle to another browser window, you're disqualified. Like, I don't know what the reason would be there. Like, what the valid reason would be there. It's just like, dude, while you're playing this game, you cannot toggle to another browser window because who knows what you're doing. Warp Raven, yeah, ELO is a score that all chess players can arrive at. Yeah, it's kind of like your handicap rating in golf. It's interesting that like for the greatest human players, like the highest ELO rating is something like 2,800, 2,900. And the chess engine Stockfish is rated at like 3,700. Which I think is an interesting thing to point out that, oh yeah, here, I have it. Chess.com employs highly rated and grandmaster fair play analysts precisely because there are many situations where humans are required to understand how human versus computer a move actually is. Human chess and computer chess are different even at the highest levels. The best humans play at an ELO of 2,800. The most powerful chess engine has a rating of more than 3,500. In theoretical matches versus Magnus Carlsen, where they pit Magnus Carlsen versus Stockfish, they estimate that Magnus Carlsen would lose every single game. No wins and no draws. So that's insane, right? The greatest chess player in the world could not even get Stockfish to a draw. Stockfish can see 40 plus moves ahead. The best, I think, GMs, it's estimated they can see up to like 20 moves ahead or something like that. Oh yeah, and that's an interesting point. Like this is even just assuming that like you're cheating using the same device that you're playing on, right? So the reason that is important is because it's not a close thing. It's not like if I played engine moves that it could be misinterpreted that I am just a very good chess player. I'm an excellent chess player. If you played chess engine moves in a game, you would be an order of magnitude better than the greatest chess player in the world. Even 20 years ago, the greatest chess engine was not able to do that. Like Deep Blue was not able to do that. I mentioned this before, but right, Deep Blue is the chess engine that beat Garry Kasparov and developed by IBM. And the thinking at the time when that game happened was that there's no way that a computer beat Garry Kasparov. There must have been humans inside the box making the moves. So it's a bit ironic, interesting, and slightly humorous that now it's completely flipped on its head, just over the course of not even a lifetime. We've gone from, well, there's no way a computer could be that good, humans must be helping it, to there's no way a human could be that good, computer must be helping it. Yeah. I mean, AlphaGo, I mean, Go is, well, is Go a simpler game? I mean, I don't really know. I don't know enough about Go. I mean, I'm familiar with AlphaGo being sort of one of the first um, of many humbling experiences that humans who thought like, oh, well, computers aren't going to be able, well, computers might take your job, but I don't think they're ever going to be able to take my job. This reminds me of that Rick and Morty episode where there are those little dudes living inside the thing that gives the sister big boobs. Anyway, okay, so to continue. All right, so just finishing up this letter. He wants to address so this is from Danny, who is the CCO of chess.com, the chief chess officer of chess.com, which to me is a little silly, but whatever. Moving on to your second point, I want to address both the reasons and the timing for freezing your account and rescinding the CGC invite. When I received your confession back on August 12th of 2020, in light of your age, which at that time would have been 17, I allowed you to create a new account with no fair play markings to continue to stream chess. So essentially, the record was expunged, okay? You'll remember that I worked hard to both advise you on this process and protect you as much as I could, and there are the Slack messages showing this between Hans Niemann and Danny. And when I read those, I think, man, Danny was just way too nice to this guy. I would do that again for you or any young player I deem to have lost their way and wanted to choose a better path forward. Maybe also, like, maybe he saw like the potential for dollar signs in Hans Niemann's eyes. Who knows? For my team, however, there has always remained serious concerns about how rampant your cheating was in prize events. As you know, we've closed the accounts of hundreds of titled players, including 4 of the top 100 grandmasters who've confessed to cheating. So the fair play algorithms that chess.com uses to determine if someone is cheating or not, like, they redacted some of the information, but look at this. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay, well, this is the second part of it, though. Wait, let me get that out of here. Let's do the first part of it. Okay, so this is from, like, they redacted who this was, right? I already wrote you in the previous emails that I will fully cooperate. I only used help in a few games, not because I wanted to win a prize, but because I was bored and wanted to see how good is your team. Before that, I was sure everybody is doing it. So right there, like, this is a grandmaster. How high was this grandmaster rated? Well, wait till you hear this. Who is, in his rationale for why they cheated, is saying that they cheated in part because everybody's cheating. Now I see your team is very serious and good. I want to apologize for my behavior. This will never happen again. I'm sorry for what I did, and I feel ashamed about the fact. Thanks a lot for giving me this chance and did not make this public. Thanks for not making this public. I was surprised you catched me because I cheated only in 5 games in this. I cheated games. What's interesting here is in the rest of the letters here, they actually predicted exactly what games he cheated in. And one of the reasons that they allowed this person back in is because they were like, yep, those are the games you cheated in. And we knew those were the games you cheated in. You didn't know that we knew that those were the games you cheated in. And maybe you would have lied and said, oh, I only cheated in that one game. But at least you came forward and you said, yes, I cheated in these 5 games. And they happened to be, really good at chess. I mean, maybe English second language. Like, they don't reveal who this is, but maybe that could be a clue. But it's interesting that then when they talk about this, like, so this is them sort of responding to what was said there. This is the number blank chess player in the world privately admitting to us that he cheated. There's not room for two numbers there. There is only room for one number. So this is one of the top 9 chess players in the world. Could be number 2. Could be number 4. Could be number 2. I mean, if it's Magnus, that would be. I don't think it's Magnus. But point being, like, it's not like just people trying to be up-and-comers who are getting caught cheating at chess here. This is one of the top 9 chess players in the world admitting that he cheated. There should be some celebration in our ability to identify it, but it's a solemn place to be. And here he even mentions, I have no reason to mistrust his statement that he only cheated in specific games, as it lines up more or less with what we noticed in our manual review. There's more specifics on that. But I mean, the reason that I'm bringing that up is that it is, or just any of this in general, is that the algorithms that chess.com uses combined with their manual review process catches, players at the top of the game, best players in the world. And because that person cheated, like let's just say, I don't know who it is. Like nobody knows who it is. Let's say it's the number 6 player in the world. So just because he cheated, he's probably still the 6th best player in the world. Doesn't mean that he's not the 6th best player in the world. It just means that he cheated in 1 or 2 things, or in 5 games in that case, right? And that's where, again, like it kind of comes up, like these people are not playing these games, like, because I kept seeing like people saying like, oh, well, so every move would have needed to have been transmitted to him. No, Hans would have just needed a buzz or 2. Like at a particular moment in the game, he would have needed to know, like people have said like Morse code, they wouldn't need Morse code. They would just need a sequence of buzzing. And at any particular point in the game, maybe he only needed to do it once or twice. And let's also not forget, chess does count on, there is an element of the human to human competitive spirit wherein if you get yourself into you can mind fuck yourself out of a game. You could be 10 points up. You could have captured the queen and you could still lose a game because you mind fuck yourself. So just imagine, like, all else being equal, 2 completely equal chess players. If you have one chess player who knows that if they get in a bind, they have a safety net that they can fall back into, which is they can get a move transmitted to them. And you have another chess master on the other side there who doesn't have that ability. Like who's going to be a little more confident? I mean, you could argue that like, well, that might make you more likely to blunder. No, it's not, because it's not. I mean, if you're not getting fed the moves, you still need to really think about the moves. And really, like, a lot of these games, like if once you make like a crucial blunder, there's no way back, right? Yeah, exactly, Andrew, right? And most of these, like many of these games, I don't know exactly what the percentage of it is, they end up as draws or near draws. Well, see, me too. This is why, like, when people sort of flipped out on Magnus and were like, you did not present concrete evidence. All you did was say, like, essentially, like, I have a hunch that he's cheating. Like, dude, there's no single person better qualified to evaluate another player. And I realize it's a conflict of interest, but it's not a conflict of interest if he's wrong and he ruins his own reputation. So like being able to notice these kinds of patterns, yes, chess.com has a bevy of grandmasters, and that's what they do as part of the manual review process. I'm sure Magnus would qualify if he wanted to be one of those people. And there were, is it this one? No. Yeah, and there were tons of grandmasters who essentially just said, all right, let me get out of this. That's pretty much the whole letter. Oh, he closes out by saying, I'm going to bring my letter to a close with an offer to have a call. If you're willing to correct the false statements you made about never having cheated when it mattered, now that you've said these untruths publicly, acknowledge the full breadth of the above violations, and cooperate with us to compete under strict fair play measures, Chess.com would be happy to consider bringing you back to our events. In fact, I think it would be a wonderful redemption story for the full truth to come out, for the chess world to see this and acknowledge your talent, regardless of your past, and give the community what they deserve, the truth. Great way to close out that letter. And like I said, like in light of what I'll show you here, like the stuff that was said between them, I mean, privately, but it's out now. I think it's too generous, if anything. Okay, so then we're back on the timeline of September 8th when chess.com sent that letter. And then chess.com also released like a public statement that was just like a TLDR version of what I just read you there. Actually, it's not even a TLDR version of what I just read you. It's very much just like, we're going to have to revoke, well, read it. Yeah, we have detailed evidence concerning the decision to remove him from chess.com, including information that contradicts his statements regarding the amount and seriousness of his cheating on chess.com. We've invited him to provide an explanation and response with the hope of finding a resolution. He has not done that yet. Like, his only responses to the press thus far, after he made his like really sort of not insightful analysis of the earlier game, has been, chess speaks for itself. Chess speaks for itself. I'm not going to explain how I knew to make that move and how I made that move in 30 seconds, even though it required like, a 30 move extrapolation to know what the benefit of that move would be. And I just did it because I'm the best. The thing is, he could be the best, and he still wouldn't be anywhere near close enough to be able to beat a chess engine. So he's not playing like the best player in the world. He's playing like a chess engine. Like, it's not... The difference there is huge. As I said, right, Stockfish is estimated to play at 3,500, and if it were to play Magnus Carlsen, the theory is that Magnus Carlsen would never win or draw, that he would always lose. So, best chess player in the world would always lose, would never even be able to draw. Okay, so then September 27th, Magnus... Oh, do I still have this on? Should I do this? Should I do this in stereo? Should I do this part in stereo? Yeah. Maybe not. It's kind of noisy. Okay, so then there's a few other things here that I don't really... I mean, did Magnus... Look, Hans Niemann cheating doesn't mean that there's not like some weird stuff going on between Magnus and chess.com. Like, it's clear like there is some entanglements there that would mean that it's to chess.com's advantage for Magnus to remain like the best chess player in the world, and to not have. Why would you say this? Why would you say this? It feels like an insult. I mean, I'm not that good. I'm okay. I tend to fall victim to, I guess, what could be called impatience. Because my end games are where I fall apart. It's my weakness, is end games. And honestly, like, there's not, like, getting to an end game, I will accept a draw 9 times out of 10. Like, playing a king pawn end game to me seems like the most boring thing in the world. Some of them will listen to me. The rooks, they get the fuck out of there. Oh, I was just being a dick. Sorry, Trail. So, yeah, like 2 things can be true here, right? It can be true that chess.com, or that Hans Niemann cheated, and also that chess.com and Magnus Carlsen are in each other's back pockets. But one of the things that it has here is, like, did Magnus tell us to close Hans's account and or revoke his invite to CGC? No, Magnus did not ask us to close Hans's account. I mean, Magnus did say that he would never play Hans Niemann again, which I feel like that's the right move. Like, why would he? Like, there's absolutely no upside to it. So nobody asked us to remove Hans from the CGC, not Magnus, not Hikaru, not any other titled player, et cetera, et cetera. And Hikaru has, I mean, a lot of these people have YouTube or Twitch streams, and you can watch them talking about this. They know a lot more about it, but they also, what's weird is I was going to say they really go through it really quickly and seem to like not be that cognizant that they're talking about things and using jargon that like maybe other people don't understand. But maybe I'm doing that too. I don't know. Oh, Alan, yes, I'm aware of this. Yeah. I mean, this was the shade that Magnus threw when he said, oh, yes, it's clear that Hans has learned a lot from his mentor because his mentor was also caught cheating in the past. I don't know. Like, what? Maybe his mentor is the one that's sending him the info. Who knows? So here's the interesting thing, right? Like, and this is on page 3. We're on page 3 of 73 pages. But don't worry. It's like I said, it's mostly a lot of his exhibits, which I already showed. A lot of it is data visualization. And there's only 1 or 2 of those things that I think are interesting enough for me to want to talk about. So, but this is interesting. Does chess.com believe Hans cheated in his September 4th over-the-board game against Magnus? And more generally, do we believe that Hans has cheated in other over-the-board games? So Magnus accused Hans of cheating in these games. This is the game that Hans crushed Magnus in, right? And the chess.com response to this is, despite the public speculation on these questions, in our view, there is no direct evidence that proves Hans cheated at the September 4th, 2022 game with Magnus, or that proves he has cheated in other over-the-board games in the past. That said, as set forth more fully below in Section 10, we believe certain aspects of the September 4th game are suspicious, and Hans's explanation of his win post-event added to that suspicion. As to his over-the-board play more generally, in sections 7 below, we discuss what we believe are apparent anomalies in Hans's rise in OTB rating. So this is interesting too, because it's not just like random people are, rated 2100, and then 2 months later they're rated 2400. No, they're like every grandmaster, they have the data on how every grandmaster has risen, right? And what the trends are and how they get better and what they do to get better. Hans is a statistical anomaly there in more than one way. That would indicate that, like, he might have taken a shortcut, and again, like, there is not a smoking gun for his over the board play. There is statistical evidence enough to, in my opinion, reach the threshold of beyond reasonable doubt to not believe Hans when he says he didn't cheat. So, of note, we discuss how Hans, like, there's just so many exceptional things about Hans's particular trajectory and what he's done. Like, it's not just one or two things. So here you go, Anna, right? Like, yeah, that would explain everything. Like, if that were true, then it would be like, oh, okay, yeah. In that case, everything falls into place. But there are so many ways in which Hans deviates from the norm that even if he didn't have a record of cheating and a past history that showed that he cheats and lies about his cheating, this is good, Lexi. Even if he didn't have that record, it would still be enough for the Fair Play Committee to call out, certainly like the games that they called out that were online, as being fraudulently played. Okay, so anomalies in Hans's rise in OTB rating. Of note, we discuss how Hans became the fastest rising player in classical over-the-board chess in modern recorded history, and he did it much later in life than his peers. And here's the capper, right? And he did it after they had removed him from playing on their site in 2020 for cheating. So not only is he the fastest rising OTB player in modern recorded history, I don't know what they mean by modern there, but let's say 50 years. I don't know. I'll check that. Like, that's significant to know what they mean by modern. The fastest rising OTB player in modern recorded history, right? He did this much later in life than his peers. Well, much later in life than his peers. As I mentioned before, like almost every grandmaster. In fact, I think all the grandmasters that exist now became grandmasters by the age of 15. Like, again, something about the development of the brain. Or there's like something early on that like weeds out people, right? Either way, if you're not a grandmaster by the time you're 15, it's highly unlikely that you will ever become a grandmaster, no matter how much you play chess or how hard you try. I mean, similar like tennis. Tennis is like a physiological limitation, but there's a neurological limitation probably here that we're not aware of. So yeah, fastest rising player in OTB chess in modern history. Did it later in life than peers, and just happened to do it in the dark, when the lights were off, when nobody could track what he was doing or see the rise. Just, but it wasn't a coincidence. Like, it wasn't like a coincidence that he wasn't on chess.com during that time. Oh, that's right. He wasn't on chess.com during that time because he was banned for cheating. And yet, despite these potential suspicions, as shown in Section 8, an in-depth review of Hans's OTB game using chess.com statistical methods revealed aggregate patterns of play that, while interesting, are possible for a rising player approaching 2,700. Now, but here's what's kind of weird about that, is Hans's ELO rating of a player approaching 2,700, they're saying that they analyzed his match against Magnus, and for someone of his ELO rating, it's not that weird. Like, it's not weird enough for them to call it cheating. It's statistically weird, but it's maybe not statistically significant enough, or doesn't reach whatever their bar is for calling something cheating. But his ELO is partially predicated on a past that is shrouded in this mystery, and who knows how he got that number. So he comes in with this ELO with a provenance unknown, and the moves that he was making in the game against Magnus don't seem like they would necessarily, or they wouldn't force chess.com's fair play committee to call it cheating, but they are statistically weird. But if his rating was lower, if his ELO is actually lower, then I bet you would have. In Section 9, we present Hans's top performing events based on his overperformance in strength and rating. We're prepared to cooperate with the FIDE and respect their role in leading this and any future investigation. So the FIDE needs to delve into this full bore. Okay. So if chess.com was not certain that Hans cheated, why did they take steps to revoke his invitation to the CGC and close his chess.com account in the wake of his match with Magnus? So this is where like people are like, okay, so chess.com loves Magnus and is in business with Magnus. And that's true. And if you're coming out and saying now, Danny, that, excuse me. Well, it's interesting that you say this, though, Contrarian 420. Yeah, so Regan, well, this is we're going out of order here. But this was Ken Regan's. Contrarian, get your thing out of there. You're blocking my. Okay, so this is Ken Regan, who, as Contrarian just pointed out, is like one of the developers of the cheating algorithm the FIDE uses. Dear Eric and Sean, I'll have to see which particular interviews, but in all the past 24 hours, I've referenced and specifically the link given there to your statement circa September 8th, 9th, that Hans had not told the full extent or nature of his cheating. That's when he said he only did it when he was 12 and 16. I've also emphasized the importance of Niemann's having cheated on multiple occasions. It is true that Roger, he has not cheated in a time period that I've quantified as since August 2020 or 2+ years, either OTB or online. I certainly agree that he cheated in 2015 and 2017 and in the 5 sets of games against the stuff that chess.com called out. God damn it. This stuff is being a problem. But yeah, so, I mean, one can hope, right? I mean, ultimately, like, what we want is the truth, right? So, I don't know enough of I don't know enough about any of this really, but the in and outs of Ken Regan's cheating algorithms versus the Fair Play Committee's algorithms. All right, so why did chess.com revoke his invitation? We base this on several factors. First, as detailed in this report, Hans admitted to cheating in chess games on our site as recently as 2020, after our cheating detection software and team uncovered suspicious play. So he admitted to it after he was caught in 2020, which is why he was banned, which is why we don't have the data that would be needed to see how he rose to his 2,700 plus level, which is what his movements, the strength of his movements are predicated on. And the very foundation there is shaky, right? Yeah, I mean, oh, Jesus Christ, man. From what I've read about it and seen, it's not, it doesn't consume enough data. Um, yeah, exactly, right. So, and that's a point that's made here by grandmasters all over the place that we can bring up. It's really annoying having to do this way. I don't want to lose my place, but I'll do this one time here. Stick with me. Oh, I think I already have it in here. Is it this? Nope. Is it that? Nope. Okay, I don't know if I have it in here. So let me just put it in here. Okay, it's going to be big for a second. I'll fix it. Okay, so when we talk about like cheating, and what does cheating require in order for it to be effective to outplay the best chess players in the world? This is worth looking at, especially given that Regan's algorithm doesn't take this kind of stuff into account. Now, admittedly, like these are quotes from IMs and from international masters and grandmasters, and let's hear what they say. It even says here, like, yeah, Hans himself said after they caught him, of course, they have the best cheat detection in the world, better than FIDE. At higher echelons of competitive chess, many games are won or lost in a critical moment, and having any sort of assistance during those moments can turn the outcome of the game. Indeed, many top players have expressed that using a chess engine in just a handful of key moments can add hundreds of elo in strength. Hundreds. So from like 2,500 to 2,700 maybe, right? And here you see the GM saying, right, top players only need to cheat 3 times in a game, literally. Top players know so much about the position that if you even insinuate that they might be better or worse, they might find the right move. But they really only need to cheat 1 or 2 times. They may only even need like to know that the move they're looking at is not the best one, you know. And this is scary, and this is something that that Magnus said too, right? Had I started cheating in a clever manner, I am convinced no one would notice. I would have just needed to cheat 1 or 2 times during the match. I would not even need to be given the moves, just the answer on which move was way better, or here there's a possibility of winning, or here you need to be more careful. Like it could even be like when you're playing chess, there's like a bar, often, in online chess that kind of shows the strength, right? You could have some kind of a warning buzzer that lets you know, like, hey, you're at a critical move or something, right? Maybe it doesn't even tell you anything specific. It's just like danger, right? Even that would be significant. What's Niemann's ELO right now? According to what it is, I think it's like 2735 or 2753. Oh, why did this? Oh, it got all tiny. That's not. Yeah. Oh, 2699. So just at 2700. Dude. And this guy, man, like, I'm looking at this. He's also a douchebag. All right. So former world champion said one bit per game, one yes/no answer about whether a sacrifice is sound could be worth 150 rating points. It's a world champion. Cheating is a big problem both online and over the board. Unfortunately, many people believe that cheating equals every move. 1, 2, 3 hints per game would be more than enough for some to become IMs, GMs, or win big tournaments. So many ways to cheat without being caught. I watched him very carefully when he played. Okay. Well, actually, I think I had this cut off. Damn it. Wait, let me get the version of that has both parts of that quote, because that's a good one. Just happened to be in the middle of a page, or at a page break, sorry. This is scary, right? So they're talking about a move that had implications down the line that really required a lot of in-depth analysis and future move analysis, right? And he did it in 10 seconds. So he's not, and this actually was like a stumbling block for me. I think I'd mentioned this before, right? Like, it's like, you'd think he'd be good enough to know when to put on the theatrics, but the truth is, like, if he is that arrogant and also being like that young, he either might not always know, like, this is a particularly difficult position. He might not know that, right? Or he might also think like, or he might not know how difficult it is. But you can see here, like, if you have someone who really understands the game, and Hans has had a lot of trouble analyzing his own games after the games, right? Like, that's been another area that has drawn suspicion, is like, he can't really speak to why he made the move that he made. He'll just do things like say, chess speaks for itself. Fucking dickwad, man. He's a prick. He didn't know when to put on the theatrics. You have to be strong enough to do that. If I had this gadget, right, I don't know, people fixated on anal beads for some reason, but whatever it is, a thing in the heel of his shoe that vibrates, a thing in his, his waistband of his underwear, like, who knows? Could be anything. If I had this gadget, I would be killing people left and right and nobody would know. This is the real danger, because if a 2600 player has this thing, so it's interesting there, he's very much implying that Hans's 2699 ELO rating is not founded in reality. If a 2600 player has this thing, he knows exactly how to behave, he knows exactly when to think, and he doesn't need to use it more than 4 times a game. That's plenty to destroy anyone. At the critical junction, you switch it on and find out which way do I go. Oh, this little nuance I didn't see. Fine, boom, goodbye, that's it. At that point, you may think for a long time, even though you already know the move. It's misdirection. It's like magic, But this guy doesn't know. He's just mechanically playing the first move of the computer. Everyone is a clown to him. The guy has no moral compunction. He's absolutely immoral. Not pulling any punches, Maxim Lugi. So yeah, I mean, it's not just Magnus. It's not just like one strange statistical anomaly. Oh, I think I just lost power in one of my lights. It's not just one strange statistical anomaly. It is anomaly after anomaly. It is incredibly unlikely after it. It is rolling a 20 6 times in a row. It's actually probably much more than that, right? I mean, this is why, like, earlier, when chess.com says they estimate 0.14% of people cheat, or of tournament games are cheated in, 0.14%, it seems that it seems low to me, right? Like, so here's I mean, it just seems like they're all erring on the side of trying to be as careful as possible. And I mean, if you accuse, you have to be, I guess you have to be really, really careful, because you don't want to accuse someone of cheating. I mean, you're talking about their livelihood. You accuse someone of cheating who's not cheating, and they're screwed. But when the odds are like 1 in a trillion, right? Like when, what was it, Dream, whoever that Minecraft player did some speed run that was shown to be, statistically it was less probable for him to make that run than it was for, I don't know, the universe to evolve to favor something very unlikely. All right, so to detect, wait, okay. So one of the things that it does here is, one of the ways that chess.com detects cheating is by establishing what they call a strength score, which is the similarity between the moves made by the player and the moves that are suggested by a chess engine. So it's the accuracy of play. No, hi. This was, I believe, all rated games, all tournament games, I think, online and or OTB. Actually, it might not have even been OTB. I'd have to go back and look. Yeah, exactly. And this is why, like, when Magnus made this accusation, and didn't come out with I mean, sometimes that kind of proof doesn't exist. He doesn't have the video, it's not a Chris Matthews moment, but he's definitely, that's his reputation on the line right there, right? If it turns out that Hans is not cheating. And then Hans taking this game that he played the other day and sort of touting that as proof that he didn't cheat when he was playing although, if his ELO is actually not what his ELO is supposed to be, then he was actually playing someone of his strength, but he was playing someone whose ELO was 150 points below his or more, and he won. So what? And he went through a metal detector. So what? So what? If you were to tell me there is a 1 in 1 billion chance of X happening, but the guy went through a metal detector, I would say there's either he's doing it in a way that the metal detector can't detect, or he's doing it in a way that the metal detector can't detect, right? You don't go with the almost impossible rationale there. So they use strength score, and I brought this up already, showed the strength scores versus the ELOs of GMs who admitted to cheating. Is that? Oh, I found this interesting too. This is a table of games likely cheated in, and some of these were admitted to. In fact, I think all of these were admitted to. But that's not what I was trying to bring up. I was trying to bring up the strength scores. Right. So even the best, even Magnus, his strength score is in the 70s. It's not on here because these are all grandmasters who were caught cheating and admitted to it. And you can see their ELOs when compared to the strength score, the strength score is too high. So Magnus's ELO is, 2,800, whatever it is. And his strength score is 72 or something like that, which means that 72% of the time he will play the best move, according to a chess engine. So the best player in the world, more than a quarter of the time, will not play the best move. Whereas Hans Niemann, who here was at 2465 whenever this was taken, 85% of the time was playing the best move. And the people who have those kinds of strength scores are people who confess to cheating. Another thing, so I don't know how much evidence is needed, really. Like, it just seems like it's more and more and more, right? So I don't know how much is needed. I mean, look at this. Like, this is just fucking nuts. I mean, this is a bar graph of OTB strength improvement in the 8 years between 11 to 19. And look who's on top. Hans Niemann improved more than Bobby Fischer did, more than Magnus Carlsen did. He did it while in a dark room because he had been banned for cheating. And it's significant. It's not even like just eking out Bobby Fischer. It is 653 points instead of 405 points. It's huge. It's bigger than the difference between Bobby Fischer and... Oh, wait, no. Okay, they did a linear extrapolation. Okay. So the strength improvement is 0 to 20. Got it. Sorry, I was reading that wrong. But still, significant. So that's just like another piece. It's just like another thing. Throw it on the fucking pile of here are all the statistically extremely improbable things that Hans Niemann must have done if he's actually playing where he is purported to be playing. So the other thing that I found interesting was this. Okay, this is arguably like one of the data visualization is lovely, by the way. It's wonderful. Okay. So what are we looking at here? Okay. What we're looking at is ELO rating over time. Okay. And this is Hans's ELO rating over time. And you can see that there are two periods between November 2015 and July 2018. And then just like a really brief period where he went up, then from 2019 to 2021, where he didn't improve at all. Okay, in his recorded games, did not improve at all. Ratings plateaus that are completely uncharacteristic of the class of improving chess prodigies who eventually become elite GMs. His rating fluctuated between, it's here, right? I don't have to say what the numbers are. And you can see then compared to other players, let's look at the chess prodigies by age and their rise. Get rid of that one. Bam. Hans Niemann is the blue. Okay. Magnus Carlsen is the red. But you can just see like there are generally smoother trajectories as they reach 2700, right? Whereas Hans Niemann's was more of like a kind of punctuated equilibrium. Yeah. The spikes are, yes, exactly. You bought a faster PC or lost some scruples. So what else is there? Like elo changed by age. Like he is an anomaly in almost all of these evaluations. Um, what age he was when he became a GM, as I mentioned before, like most people do it around age 14 or 15 at the latest. I mean, he was 17, right? Is that different? No, but it is, again, it's just like another point that kind of sticks out, you know? Anyway, that's pretty much all the data. Like, again, like the game against Magnus, although it was strange and there were a few moments where Hans made moves very quickly that should have required, based on the strength of those moves, should have required him a lot longer to make. They're still not, they're still saying it doesn't reach the threshold that they need to call that cheating. But whatever. I mean, you know, we'll see what happens. We'll see if the FIDE continues to investigate this and maybe with hopefully better cheating algorithms. I mean, I can show the DMs are like, it's funny watching the DMs between the chess.com people and Hans Niemann, because they're giving him so many ins back, so many chances. These are just a bunch of bar graphs. Past these. It's interesting what this data says about just sort of chess mastery and age. And this is definitely like, you know, between the ages of 13 and 17, that's where you become a world-class chess player, or you don't, or you never do. There's no 36-year-olds. There's no 50-year-olds going in and getting their elo up to from 1900 to 2700. It does not happen. It's not just rare. It doesn't happen. Period. So I'm extremely interested in watching the future of what happens. I can't wait. Like, I would love to hear Hans Niemann talk about this stuff. Oh, he lost today. Okay. I mean, more data needed. I don't want to, I mean, because he won the day before, right? So, who knows? Yeah, I know. I am extremely interested. I think it's fascinating. And I would bet any amount of money that eventually it's going to come out, either through a leak, like someone has to know, like someone has to be helping him. I very much doubt he's doing all of this on his own. That would be the safe way to do it. Or maybe a body shows up in a canal outside the CGC or something, because he's determined that the only way that two people can keep a secret is if one of them is dead. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I watched him go through the metal detector the other day, and I don't know. Like, hubris is like such a weird thing, isn't it? Like, I don't know. You know, I would think that he wouldn't be. He wouldn't cheat, you know, for this event. But I'm interested to see, like, what he does after this event. Like, where does he go from here? Yeah, I agree with this, Lynn. I mean, he's obviously a great chess player, right? Yeah, and this too, Charlie. Right, like the bigger worry might be like that one grandmaster said, in his letter as to when chess.com accused him of cheating, and he was cheating, and he admitted to it, and he said the reason that he did it is because he assumed everybody was cheating. I mean, that's just like, the thing that people latched onto because it's comical. But I think the method of some kind of receiver that vibrates or somehow conveys, as I said, they'd only need a few bits of information, right? Right. Like, is his proper ELO more like 23 something, 2400, which would still be a grandmaster, or 2400 would still be a grandmaster, right? But there's a huge difference in compensation once you get up into those that echelon, right? Anyway, conclusion reached.
You make me want to be a better man.
Is that the one? No, this is the one, right? Like, it's obviously like, this is my advice for Hans Niemann.
I believe that truth will save the world. So you speak truthfully. I didn't sleep at all.
Tell the truth.
Johnny Red Neat, okay? Do it. Do it.
All right.
All right. I hope you all have a lovely remainder of your Saturday evening. And I'll see you all later. Hans Niemann's a cheater.